welcome to the cookout, man. It's your boy, D. Alex Mack. Got my man, you see the cup, man. DapperDom, man. Hey, we in here today.
Yeah.
Hey, like we told you guys, if you've not had a chance to go and check in with season 1 yet, man, go back, click the link in our bios, and see what we got going on, man. We got some good gems there. First guest, Miss Jasmine Hudson from Black Paper Party, Black on NWA.
Yep.
So that episode's doing really well. So just go in, tap in, see what we got going on, man. What you got going on, DapperDom?
Man, well,
what you want to tell the people?
Well, let's chop it up first. This segment currently brought to you by Life, man. Living in faith every day, but we will take a paid sponsorship. But y'all know already. Hit that like, share, subscribe. Each one, reach one. Come on, man, rock with us.
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yeah, tell a friend to tell a friend. But on Chop It Up today, man, a couple episodes ago, we talked about New Year's resolutions and goals and maybe even just action words or phrases.
Yeah.
I can't recall, did we talk about, do you share those with anybody? Do you share those with your wife?
We didn't get that. We didn't get
so I want to ask you, chop it up a little bit, I ask you, do you share that with anybody?
You know what? I haven't before, but as you're saying that to me, it's really triggering something in my head in terms of just, who you have around you.
Yep.
Right? I think in mine, I talked a little bit about relationships. And it's like, especially as men, I was having this conversation. I feel like sometimes we don't always have the depth in our relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I mean by that is oh, you like sports? I like sports. You like to lift weights? I like to lift weights. You like stuff that's very surface level types of things.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think some of that just maybe goes into, what we've talked about with the men's mental health stuff that we did in season 1. That's why we're telling y'all to go check out season 1.
Yeah, go check it out.
We did a 2-part on that one, man. And I just feel like as men, that's just kind of how we've been as a generation. And I've even looked back at some of my relationships and people that I've called close friends. And I'm like, man, how much, times when it was struggling or times when they were struggling, was I there for them or, vice versa, man. So I think that, brings me back to, having a good group of people that you can be vulnerable with about, hey, man, this is what I aspire to be. This is where feel like I'm not living up to what I want to be as a man, as a father, as a boyfriend, as a husband, as an employee, and people that'll hold you accountable.
Okay.
I think that's what a good friend looks like. So I think that I haven't before, but I think, sharing that with a close-knit group of people that, you feel care about you, I feel like it can only help you, man. Because if they're really there, man, they're going to hold you accountable, check in on you, be like, man, I know you told me you wanted to let God, take the limits off God, man. How you doing? Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once a month. So I think it's a great idea.
Now I have as you were talking, man, I just got to thinking about our community. So we typically, I guess, don't want to share because we're known to gossip.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? So do you think people don't tell because I don't want to be vulnerable because if I would tell this person, they might tell somebody else, and that trust piece isn't there. It's not that I don't want to be held accountable. Because sometimes it is I don't want to be held accountable. Because once I put it out there in the atmosphere, it's that fear of failure. You know what I'm saying? Just even with this podcast and stuff like that, telling people we do a podcast. Now it's oh, you do a podcast? Let me check it out. Yeah. So then now you have more eyes to critique it, and now you're second guessing yourself. So what part do you think that stigma of one, that fear of failure? If I put it out there, now if I don't do it, they're like, you said you was gonna do this but you didn't. And also too is I want to be vulnerable and share this, but what if Brett tells somebody else, or what if sis tells somebody else? What part do you think played in that piece too?
I think it's both of them, man. I think for me it probably leans a little bit more towards the fear of failure.
Okay.
I remember having this conversation recently. Me and the wife had went out on a date, and we were kind of doing these questions and stuff, and she was just asking, and I was like, I don't really have a lot of fears or insecurities at this point, but I think failure definitely is one of them for sure. And so I do think that it's one of those things where, sometimes there's even probably a group of friends that I haven't even told necessarily about the podcast, because it's like, for me, it's like, man, I want us to really be like, and I don't even know what success looks like. I don't know if it's followers. I don't know if it's a deal. I don't know what it is, but I was like, man, I want it to be at a certain point. I want people to see it at this certain point before I'm like telling them what it is, because I definitely think that it's one of those things where then you share it, and then like you say, you feel that pressure, and I don't know what it is, man, because I feel like there's some people or some communities where they don't care.
Yeah.
They gonna run through a door, be like, nope, I'm good. And then they like, man, I'm gonna go and do something else. And I think if we took some of that off of us, I think some of it is just, pride and maybe the shame of what comes after it, right? Like you fail and then other people know, and then they're, talking about you. And I think it takes some of that, like, and life is about, whether you want to frame it up in a nice, pretty package or whatever, life is about failure. Yeah. Life is about learning from things that you have not done, correctly, or that you've missed out on opportunities for. So I think when you take it in terms of that mindset and you understand, like, I think it's only failure if you give up.
Okay. Yeah.
It's only failure if you get up. If it's like, okay, man, I didn't get to this, but I'm still going. I'm still learning. I'm still trying this. And I don't think that you really fail. So it's a mindset.
Yeah, life is about evolving. You're always evolving each and every day. Also, share with us, man. If y'all hadn't shared your resolutions or goals for 2025, hey, share in the comments. Hey, go to our IG page.
Absolutely.
Share with us, man. Talk to us. We'll talk back. I promise you will.
We'll let it know that.
Yeah, but to answer that, like, I haven't really in depth either. Like, I told, like, my wife about, like, and I've told friends, like, this year, I want to say, like, I'm taking the limits off God. Yeah. But I haven't went in depth on what does that mean. You know what I mean? And so I think I want to have a deeper conversation for sure with my wife, whether it's, like, about, like, our vision for the podcast. Like, what I want, like, our marriage to look like, or parenting look like, or just whatever that might be. Like, I want to take that conversation a little bit deeper with her. Yeah. And so since we're on the subject of accountability, what's on the grill today is let's talk about, like, what a life coach is. Yeah, we putting Dom's a teacher today, man. Last episode, I got to get at the podium and do some teaching. We putting my boy Dom on in the teacher's podium today. Yeah. So what's on the grill? We're gonna talk about what's a life coach. What's our job? Maybe even talk through, like, what that initial conversation looks like with a potential client, and then also maybe dab into, like, what does that first session conversation look like as a life coach. Also, too, before I get started, my boy got the AIs on, man. Like, I don't know whether the camera. Man. Check my footwork. That was my guy. That was my guy. After Jordan, it was AI and T-Mac. That was my guy. So sorry, I digress. Sorry for getting sidetracked. But hey, I had my boy with the AIs. He got the answers. I appreciate it. So first and foremost, man, what a life coach is, one, we're not a therapist. I would never disrespect the industry in that way, and then also those life coaches who's been doing it for a while. Like, you're not therapists. You know what I'm saying? So first and foremost, therapists from an education standpoint, man, therapists have to go to school, go get their bachelor's in psychology or social work, somewhere in that field, but then also, too, their master's in psychology or some type of related field. They got to pass state exam. I think they have to have, I don't know how many hours, but they have to have so many hours of, like, sessions that are like practice. But life coach, guess what? You can wake up tomorrow, bro, and say, I'm a life coach. I've been on this earth 30-some years. I feel like I got enough experience that I can help somebody, which I think is a stigma. Not saying you can't do that, but I also feel like there's some validation with getting certified. Okay. And so, like, I went that route. I went Health Coach Institute. That's where I got my health and life certification from. It's a program where you can get it in less than 6 months, but you have to get it within a year. So, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes you have a career like myself, got a family, so it might take you a little longer than 6 months. But, like, if you're doing it full time, then you can get it within 6 months, and they teach you things on, like, how to hold sessions and, like, how to talk to clients and failure and things like that. And so what I feel like what it takes to be a really good life coach, one, you have to be curious. Then you have to be curious. You have to be understanding of individuals and their journey and where they are. And also too, like a huge, like before, also not just education, but like therapists, they're equipped to handle trauma. You know what I mean? Like they're more focused on, hey, you are the way you are because this happened to you, and they help walk you through like what you went through brought you to this point, and maybe there's some things that you haven't healed from and hadn't overcome, and so they're taken back. So they're working with deep emotional issues that you have. They're able to diagnose trauma and mental issues and things like that, and be able to create plans and programs to help you with that. Life coaches, we're more forward thinking. You're not dealing with any trauma. It's more so that like right now in my life, this is where I'm at, but this is where I want to go. But I can't I'm necessarily can't get there by myself, and I've tried and I've had some stumbling blocks, and so and the most common things is like only really 5 areas really. It's financially, relationship wise, career wise, health wise, and spirituality. Like those are really the 5 key areas that most people struggle with when they're needing a life coach. And so my job is not to tell you, Alex, who you should be. It's to work with you. Hey, what does success look like for you? Because success, like you just talking about the podcast, like success looks different for everybody else. Like success for us might be, man, we get 200 subscribers and get an average of 80 views a week. Like that could be success for us. But somebody else, it could be, they want 10K followers and all these shares and likes. So like it just depends on what success looks like. So go ahead.
So you talked a little bit about curiosity, and you took this, challenge on later in life. Like what inspired you to say, hey, I'm a working professional, I got these things going on, I want to go and do this? Like where did that curiosity and inspiration come from?
I've always had an inkling, man, for helping individuals find success. Like, man, you winning, I feel like I won. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not envious of anybody's success, you know what I'm saying? Like, because we all have our roles to play in this earth. And I'm a human being. Like, so not to say that I don't sometimes see people like, dang, I wish I could do that. But then then you gotta check your ego and be like, but is that my plan for my life? You know what I mean? Like, is that God's plan for my life? Like, you know what I'm saying? So understanding who you are. So like I've always wanted to help individuals. You know what I'm saying? And then even just talking with friends about different things. Like a lot of people come to me with all these different life scenarios that they're going through, and they was like, man, you give pretty sound advice. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to these things. So I've been helping people work through things my entire life.
Even if it wasn't official, it's always been that. So it's like
I could potentially get paid to do this. You know what I'm saying? And so right now I'm really just more corporate, but like eventually I do want to slide into this lane where like this is full time.
That's awesome. And then you also talk to me a little bit about success. You said something about seeing others and kind of checking your ego, and I know I've talked to me about social media, and how that impacts one's view of success. Because I know for me, like there was a time when I was on LinkedIn and I'm seeing people talk about promotions and
for sure,
and I was feeling some type of way, like man, I know I can do that, and I know this person, and like man, they doing this, and like you said, I had to check myself and say, but is that what I want to be doing? And so talk to me about like how you feel like social media impacts people's view of their own success, right?
We can keep it just on the conversation we just had, but you said you hadn't shared with people because the podcast is not where you feel like we have these certain amount of views. So it's like, man, if I share it, like, do it look bad? Like, oh man, only 60 people watch this episode. You know what I'm saying? Only 35 watch this episode. We only got 78 subscribers. Like, I don't want to share it at that point, but it's like, no, like it's part of the process. So like you want people that was there with you from the beginning. Like I don't want you to jump on the bandwagon after I done made it. You know what I'm saying? Rock with me when I'm struggling. You know what I'm saying?
Sir.
You know what I'm saying?
That means something.
Yeah, that does mean something. So you do feel like social media plays a huge part in the psyche of our lives because all people are showing is the Instagram. Like where They might have filters, they might not have filters. You know what I'm saying? But they done took 27 picks to get that one. Okay. But all they gonna show is that one. That one. They ain't gonna show those 26 other ones that it took to get that one. Okay. So like people are afraid of showing the process and the failure, and we all fail. You know what I'm saying? And so like, and to take it back to the conversation about like, we keep surface level conversations with the guys because it's like we always feel like we're the only ones. But if we open up and start talking, we'll realize that wait. Brushstroke had the same struggles I have. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think I told you that, like, I started a men's group a few weeks ago because, like, I wanted to be like, hey, man, this is a safe space, bro. Like, so we can just talk and be vulnerable and understand. And I had one yesterday, and a guy texted me. He said, bro, that was really therapeutic for me, bro. I appreciate you inviting me. You know what I mean? And so,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and so I think we just got to get our own way and stop seeing stuff on Instagram and social media and thinking that just happened overnight, because it didn't. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So it's a process. Yeah. No,
absolutely, man. And so you talked about, at the beginning, life coach, therapist, you got psychologists, and like, where did the popularity, because if I went back maybe 10 years, I don't really feel like I would have heard about life coaches as much. Like, when did that really kind of come into the space?
Yeah, man.
It really kind of carved its own lane.
I think it started about, I'd say, maybe 5 to 7 years ago, but like, it was very small. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Now I feel like it's almost like, no disrespect to people in the real estate industry, no shade, because I need you know what I'm saying? I need a real estate agent. Like, I want to build a house. I want to build a facility to train kids. So no shade. I'm going to need y'all. But like, you almost feel like it's popularized now. Like real estate. Like you see those shows Selling Sunset and Selling the City and selling.
Seems like everyone's doing it.
Everyone's doing it. You know what I mean? And so that, I feel like that's another like stigma, hold people back. Like, man, is life coaching really real? Because you got all these people popping up, and like I said,
get into it.
Yeah, like I said, there's no like governance around it. It ain't like you know what I'm saying? Like it ain't like the state can say, hey, you can't be a life coach unless you do X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? And so that's why I said like some of that credibility might be lost in it if you just have different people popping up on the scene. That's why I said like, not saying a certification makes you a great life coach, but it does bring some credibility to it. So
I think that's, I think that's a big thing for sure. It's, to me, what's resonated with your story thus far is that it's all, to me, I kind of think of it as a calling on your life. I believe in calling and purpose. And I think sometimes you're not as effective, or things are empty when you don't have that, right? And so I think when there's, I don't know, maybe I'm just being the old grandpa on the stoop or whatever, but I just feel like it's, it's a lot of these, if I can do it and I can get rich, whatever that means to people quickly without putting in a lot of work, then I want to do that, right? Whether it's being an influencer, whether it's being a content creator, whether it's, like you said, I know plenty of real estate agents. I know it's not easy. I know there's a lot of data that talks about what the top ones are really making versus what you see out there. But it just seems like there's a lot of that going on to where it's like, man, I don't got to do this and I don't got to do that. Okay, let me sign my name up and go and do this. And I think something like that is empty without that calling or that purpose around, just being able to do it, right? And so I think that's, something that you saw it, you heard it, and you're like, man, let me go, use the talents that I have within me, man.
Yeah, and I think that passion piece is what you just like you have real estate agents, you like, oh man, they absolutely love doing
oh my
this.
Gosh,
they love being able to tell me about the schools and like what's around here. Like they know all those facts, and it's not like they're trying to sell me something.
Right.
They're actually trying to help me achieve my goal on owning a house or something like that. Absolutely. They're coming alongside the journey. And so to kind of pivot to talk about that, one of the probably most skills that a life coach or health coach needs to have, and like what I call like OTR is like opening the relationship conversation. And so what this is, it's almost like depending on probably your level of expertise or even just your preference, like you can charge for it or it can just be like, hey, this is a free consultation for us to kind of chat. And the framework of that, like what I'm supposed to uncover in this conversation is one, where do you see yourself right now?
Okay.
2, where do you want to go? And then 3, like what are the stumbling blocks or roadblocks that you feel like are hindering you from getting there?
Okay.
And so like the first segment of this conversation is for me to kind of pre-frame the conversation.
Okay.
And also kind of build some rapport. And you don't want to make it into like it's a chit chat type of thing, but you do want to kind of get a little understanding of who that client is.
Right.
And so like an example of this could be, you call me, we get on the phone, like, hey, Alex, how's it going, man? I'm Dominic Wilkes. Like, I'm a certified life coach. I tell you how long I've been doing it, this, that, and the third. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And you may say, I'm married, 2 kids, food science by trade. This is what I'm doing now. I got podcasts. And so then I'll tell you like, well, today's goal is it's not for me to provide any information for you, but I just understand a little bit more about yourself, understand where you're trying to get to, and why do you feel like you can't get there. And so you might say, man, I want to lose 20, 30 pounds in 10 months. And so my job also too in this conversation is discover the why behind the why. I was like, I might say 20, 30 pounds. Like that's a very specific goal. Like how did you come up with that number? And you might say, man, I got a class reunion I got my 25-year class reunion in 10 months. Or I'm going on this trip. I'm going on this beach trip in 10 months. And you might say, I weighed this amount in high school. And when I was in high school, I played sports and I played basketball and I played football. And I got really good grades. And it was just a really good time in my life. And I felt really good about myself. So one, like I said, like building that rapport is something I'm supposed to do. But also, 2, tie your goal back to an emotional state. So you being in high school, you seeing yourself at that weight takes you back to when I played sports, when I had a lot of friends, when I was getting good grades. And so I might say, just to build rapport, like, oh, I played football too. What position you played? Like I said, you don't want to chit chat too much, but you do want to build a rapport.
And so when you're thinking about rapport, is it almost making them comfortable with
a connection? You want to feel a connection. Like for instance, like before I even apply for a job at Walmart, I'll go reach out to the hiring manager just to, hey, can we have a 15-minute conversation? Just can we feel some synergy between us? Because we might get off that call and I might be like, nah, this ain't the area for me. Or we might get off the call and it's like, I like your energy. This is what you're saying you want to bring to the team. I feel like I can bring X, Y, Z. And now I want to go interview and apply an interview for that job versus if we don't feel anything, it was like good information and good chit-chat and get to know you a little bit better, but I'm going to go a different direction. And so like part of this is to build that connectiveness to that potential client to see do they even want to bring me along with them in their journey.
No, I mean, I definitely think it's important. I think about, having done, types of therapy, and I think you want to, it needs to be a good fit. Yeah, for sure. Right? Yeah. Like it needs to be somebody that maybe, and again, I would almost, and even when you're kind of looking at, kind of searching for a therapist or, psychiatrist or psychologist, they often talk about specialties that they have, whether it's, sexual assault stuff, or whether it's family issues, whether it's relationship issues. And so I think while there's a general thing that they all know, I think some of them are, have specialties.
Yes, and you can have masteries. And like right now I don't have any masteries, but if you were asking me like, what do I like my passion or niche that I would say like I want to just stay here? I would say kids, man, just because
Okay.
I train kids in basketball.
Got your hands. Yeah.
And so I'm already in that space, and like you see, like the game, or just even just being a teenager is so much mental going on, and how they see themselves is heavily dependent on how their peers view them. And so like that confidence piece, and so me just already being in that space, it's easy for me to slide into those conversations. And to be honest with you, like, because I've had a couple parents be like we've asked them, do they want to see like a therapist or someone else? And it was like they don't, because like, and it's almost like they feel like they have to talk about their feelings.
Too heavy.
Too heavy. Okay. Versus versus it's just they just want to talk to somebody, and like, and so it's like, and it could be like, and how I'll break it down to them sometimes, like I give my kids a journal, so it could be like, how do you see yourself on the court? Okay. How do you see yourself off the court? And they write those down, so then they talk about, so say it's like, I see myself as a shooter, then we put goals behind that, and so it's like we're having conversations on, all right, I might not be that good at dribbling right now, but like I want to be a dribbler, like I'm trying to think of who got mad handles in the Julie Lloyd. Like I want to be like Julie Lloyd with the rock. Okay. But how do I get there? You know what I'm saying? And so I help them through these practical steps on how we get from where I am now versus, hey, each week we're going to do different ball handling drills to just build up to, now I got that ball on the string. You know what I'm saying? And so if I was to say I wanted to choose a niche, that's the one I would choose. But right now, like I said, I'm open to walking and talking with anybody through whatever stage of life that they're in. So
Okay. Well, hey, look, guys, we got my man DapperDom here. He dropping some jewels. He's definitely helping somebody like myself learn about, you know, the differences between what he does, you know, between therapy, psychiatrists, psychologists. There's lanes for all of them. Man, it's not time for it to go play just yet. It's just a little break time at the cookout. Get up, dance, go mingle with some people, and we're going to hit you with something on the back end,
Put that plate down. Put that aluminum foil down.
Put the plate down, man. Ain't time for it to go plate, man. We're going to check you on the next episode. We're going to finish the rest of this conversation with DapperDom and really get into a scenario of a new client, taking them all the way through the end. Hey, we got more for you at Invitation to Cookout, man. We out.
We out.